2 years ago. But the reality is, there's been a recent uptick. We saw what happened with the businessman in Arima 2 nights ago. We saw what happened in Laventil with the triple shooting there. And there's been clearly, you know, the crime and violence continues to raise its very ugly head within the country's fabric. And I guess, I mean, the government and the administration will have to do what they have to do. But again, it seems certainly that the potency, the seriousness, the shock and awe that a state of emergency would bring when I was growing up is gone. Nobody had a state of emergency to take on. Yes, if you're on the wrong side of the law, it will definitely impact you. But most citizens, unless there's some kind of curfew telling people to get home by a certain time, and then even if we go down that road, what will that do for the business industry, especially the bars and the entertainment spots, where people take a little chance to go out and, you know, visit the favorite watering hole and just hold a nice little vibe with their friends and try to forget about the hardships of a particular week. So, damn if you do, damn if you don't. We find ourselves in a really ticklish time, and the debate will rage on. But part of that debate, and it's a major concern being brought by the opposition, where there is a clause, Section 11, inside the Emergency Powers Regulation that speaks to, let's put it up on the front page. I want to read this slowly so you could understand what's at stake here. No person shall endeavor, whether orally, you hear that? Orally or otherwise, to influence public opinion in a manner likely to be prejudicial to public safety, or do any act or have any article in his possession with a view to making or facilitating the making of such endeavor. So in a sense, I guess you can't really speak out in any major way. I guess there's no, I don't want to say no gathering, because we have seen people gather in the last state of emergency, but you can't really go out there and talk loud and make no certain noise. You'll find yourself in some problems. And that's interesting, because I know the nurses on Friday, they have a planned protest during their lunch hour in San Fernando, at the San Fernando Hospital. So I guess they'll have to be probably a silent protest. They'll probably have to just walk around with the placards. And I mean, I don't know what's the scenario with that. And anyone who plans to take to the streets to air out in a real way their particular cause and concern. So certainly we will stay on top of all developments. We'll continue to have conversations on this SOE, and more so its impact on investor confidence. That's why our first guest coming in this morning, former Energy Minister, and now we could safely say attorney at law, Kevin Ramnarayan. He joins me. He's an energy expert. He understands the space, and he also will from our conversations over the years, will always put in a strong perspective on matters concerning the economy. So that's why I'm going to start it this morning with Kevin Ramnarayan as we treat with this SOE and its impact on investor confidence. Later on inside the hour, opposition leader Penelope Beckles joins me on set to, yes, treat with the issues of the day, but more so the talking point for the opposition leader this morning. We are treating with women in politics, a conversation for the Women's Wednesday, leading up to, you know, remember this month is women, this is your month, you know. That's right. So it's a give to gain kind of conversation, and we want to treat with her experience, 3 decades plus experience inside the landscape and the space and sphere that is politics here in Trinidad and Tobago. Later on, a human rights lawyer will join me. We have Edie. I mentioned the nurses. Edie's going to treat with what's happening on Friday in South, and if there's going to be any change of plan based on this state of emergency. And then later on, we get you ready for the Achievers Banquet Hall, a women's health conference and exhibition. So it's an action-packed program. We're looking good, we're feeling good. Well, not so much my uncle, but listen, the show must go on. It's a labor of love. I'm here, you're here. Let's make it happen. We head to the back page, and I'm watching some of the amazing athletes, the young athletes stepping out in a major way. I want to say congrats to Massey as a corporate entity for coming on board to sponsor the secondary school track and field championships being held at the Hazley Crawford Stadium. It started yesterday. It continues today at 9 a.m. My only concern, and this is obviously not only to just the parents, because I'm sure there would have been parents there and brothers and sisters, but where's the rest of the country when it comes to support for these young athletes? I want you to take a moment and go on YouTube and type in champs in Jamaica for their track and field meet with the school children. The stadium, the office, almost capacity, massive turnout. And this is just, not everybody will know somebody running. We're talking here just folks take a little time out of the schedule to sit down and see the future for track and field. When you get a chance, check out Intercal in Grenada, right in Grenada, 30 minutes away. Right in Grenada, when there is the school's track and field meet, there's a massive turnout. Nationals from all parts, people from quite Guave, Sutters, from the Caronade, from St. George's, right in the capital, they go to the National Stadium to see the youngsters run. And our youngsters, only when they make that stretch by the grandstand, the covered stand, there's a crowd. Everywhere else, you run into blue seats. And every athlete knows when there is crowd, people in the stands, yes, you get extra nerves, but you get the extra incentive to perform. You really drive yourself. There's an extra push to top your personal best. So Massey would have done their part. I think obviously whoever's in charge needs to really restructure the marketing campaign, flood the airwaves to get awareness, because if people don't know, they won't go. And even if we do all of that and people still don't go out, well, we can't really expect any major results. We can't really be looking forward to anything special, because those who bring home any kind of goal, they do it on their own strength, really with their own drive. And yes, we want to go in the airport with flag and his drum by Tassa, by Steel Pan and Moko Jambi and all kind of characters, and welcome these athletes back home and jump up. When they get the glory, but none of us are part of their story. None, nobody. Long time for secondary schools meet, people used to come out. Is it what, we're too busy, we on the hustle? I mean, I don't know. I really cannot put my finger as to why these major activations involving our young people, even Intercup, schools football. I remember schools football, the kind of crowd used to be there for schools football is only now for like a finals, a semis, or when there's a big clash between rivals like a Prez or a Naps or St. Mary's and probably a QRC or, a Fatima and a whoever. You might get a big crowd now. Other than that, nobody buying. Let's go to the brief. Let's see what's happening. Family time, the best time. Beautiful picture here of Salome, John, enjoying a nice scooter ride with her beautiful parents, Lafia. And I'm seeing Romario. Oh, that is nice. The family just taking a stroll. Memories there for the youngster. And this most unfortunate situation here of the stroke victim who perished in a fire at a Barrackpore home. We have to really be mindful and always look out for those who are not well, and may he rest in peace. Condolences to the family. We take the pause. We come back, we get ready. Kevin Ramnarayan, energy expert and attorney at law, joins me. The war impact on the energy sector and the state of emergency's impact on investor confidence. That conversation next.
Get a loan at Bremont. The process is simple. Fast and efficient approvals. Receive funds within 24 hours once approved. And no penalty for early repayment. Located at 4 Gallas Street, Woodbrook. Remember, we like to lend.
When others surrender to the unhealthy, we rise. When they conform to the status quo, we defy.
We believe energy is earned, not given. We fearlessly defend our bodies from the inside out.
With every sip, we unleash our greatness. We boost, we nourish, we cleanse, we recharge.
We are rebels without a pause, because a supernatural life is one worth fighting for.
This is more than just music. This is where you find the best of TNT.
This is
more than just a vibe. This is where Bollywood gets a twist. This is more than just energy. This is Bhangra and indie pop too. This is the mix. This is the life. Lock on or log on now. Sangeet 106.1 FM. This is authentic East Indian radio. This is us.
Some of us like to test limits, but there won't always be second chances. Obey the speed limits. Maybe you don't value your life, but others value theirs. A message from the TTPS.
Sportsmanship is when an athlete walks off the court and you can't tell if he won or lost because he carries himself with pride either way. This quote is an embodiment of sport, and for me, sport is an embodiment of life. We are where you are.
Get the story first. Want to know what's happening in news, sports, or crime? Get the CNC3 app. As the story breaks, CNC3 is there giving you the story first on your mobile device. Be connected to the most trusted and reliable news source, CNC3. Access your world with just a tap. The CNC3 app. Download it today.
All filmmakers, producers, content creators, influencers, and recording artists. If you're looking to rent a versatile studio space with green screen, video wall, cyclorama, and more, look no further. GM Labs is here to make your dreams a reality. Located in the heart of Port of Spain on St. Vincent Street, GM Labs is your one-stop shop for all your creative needs with over 2,800 square feet to work with. Take your creative concept to the final product at GM Labs. Give us a call or WhatsApp or message us on our Instagram and Facebook pages at GM Labs TT.
Make sure you have yourself a great invest week by viewing The Bourse Report every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. during CNC3's The Morning Brew. You'll get sound financial advice, whether you're a new or experienced investor, when you view The Bourse Report. CNC3, covering your world.
Attorney at law and energy expert Kevin Ramnarayan joins me on the Zoom line. As always, Kevin, great to see you, and I look forward to a very, as per usual, impactful conversation. There is lots to dive into, and I want to start off with our economy. Before that, though, welcome. Great to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and good morning.
Kevin, I want to find out the state of emergency, most recent. What message does that send to investors overseas and abroad, and how does it impact confidence within the ever-moving and ever-turbulent economic wheel that continues obviously to turn regardless of emergency or not? But how does this impact investor confidence, this recent state of emergency?
Well, you know, the thing about this, yesterday I went for a walk in Port of Spain. And I was working with a CARICOM national, and he was surprised. You know, we had a state of emergency. We saw people cycling, we saw people jogging, and people going about their lives. So the state of emergency, of course, as you know, is not designed to disrupt the economic activities of the country and the economic life and social and cultural life of the country. However, it does give the authorities greater and wider powers to tackle the crime situation. The Prime Minister and the National Security Council have more information than me, and certainly more information than I was on National Security Council once. So they would make a decision based on what they have seen and what has been put before them. Of course, what's happening in Trinidad and Tobago is monitored internationally because of the kind of companies that we have here. So those companies would take note of what's happening here, but I don't think it's going to disrupt the economic life of the country. Of course, I think what's happening in the Middle East is more impactful than the state of emergency. But in my respectful view, we have a crime problem in Trinidad, and the government and the authorities, meaning the police and so on, and the national security apparatus have at their disposal one instrument which they could use, which is state of emergency. It's obviously not a long-term solution.
Well, clearly it seems to be, because if indeed we have a crime problem, and we all know, Kevin, it's not an overnight or a last week problem, it's been with us since we've been in khaki pants and tall socks. And if we don't tackle crime from its core and treat with the lack of equity and all the disruptions and the lack of opportunities and the closing down of all these programs for young people, because crime is not committed by a hardback man like you and me, Kevin, it's a lot of young folks. Yes, the hardback men who are our age might commit crime with the pen, but the violent crime that's causing all this sort of mayhem and causing the government to decide, hey, let's call this state of emergency. I guess, Kevin, going forward, we'll be in a perpetual state of emergency. This is Trinidad and Tobago.
Well,
state of emergency.
Let's hope that, it's, of course, it's not. I mean, Jamaica has had, as you know, rolling states of emergency themselves, and their crime rate has been coming down. But of course, I agree, it's not a long-term solution to a problem, but there is an immediate problem before us. And, hopefully the root cause of crime will be addressed. I mean, as you said, it's been going on now for close to 40 years or more. I could go back to the early 90s and remember, things that happened in the early 90s and so on, when this crime situation really began to take root in Trinidad. But, it is one instrument available to the authorities, which they avail themselves to. But I agree that there are longer-term strategies that take time to take root.
Yeah. Okay, but let's go further afield and the fast-moving parts of a global story. This one is impacting the entire world. We recognize with the closure of the LNG plant there in Qatar, the shutting down of the refinery in Saudi Arabia, the basically halting, as it were, of the Strait, where all the major oil passes through. How and when exactly you think we'll have to brace ourselves? I'm seeing the Prime Minister of St. Vincent already telling his citizens, hey, higher prices coming, so brace yourself.
And Barbados, to use the popular quote, as of midnight last night, Barbados increased fuel prices at the pump.
And their prices are already expensive, Kevin, as we know. Gas in Barbados is premium.
Yeah, so here we are back in 1973. And I say that reference, of course, because in my view, in terms of my understanding of the span of history of Trinidad and Tobago's economy, I have always said that, the modern Trinidad and Tobago economy really was born in 1973. And it was born out of the confluence of two events that were taking place at the same time. One was we had a surge in oil production taking place in 1973. And this is in Trinidad. And we had the what we call the Arab oil embargo in 1974, which was a result of the Yom Kippur War in October 1973. And, history repeats itself. The events in the Middle East that we are seeing unfold today have their genesis in October 2024, the October 7th, when Hamas went into Israel and so on. So the gravity of what is happening, Jason, is tremendous. I mean, you cited some facts there, but I mean, the Middle East accounts for 31% of the world's oil production. The Strait of Hormuz, which is a narrow stretch of sea lane between, that is on one side is Iran, and on the other side is the United Arab Emirates and Oman. That accounts for 20 to 30% of global oil tanker oil supply to the world, and about 25% of the world's maritime oil trade. That strait is, from what I'm reading this morning, at this point in time, the Iranians have said that they have closed it, and tankers are not prepared to chance it. Right? That is also having an impact on insurance premiums, and it will have a knock-on effect on global shipping, on freight rates globally. That could affect us here. We also have the LNG. You cited the Qatar. The Qataris are the world's largest. One of the world's largest. I think the US is the world's largest, but the Qataris account for 20% of global LNG production. And just to give you some idea of what that means, Qatar exports about 80 million tons of LNG per annum. That's about 10 times what we do at Atlantic LNG in Point Fortin. So that Ras Laffan, what they call the Ras Laffan industrial city in Qatar, has been taken down. So immediately you have 20% of the world's LNG production coming offline at Ras Laffan, Qatar. You have the bombing of the Ras Tanura refinery in Saudi Arabia. You have the Straits of Hormuz being essentially shut. You have the Iraqis saying that they will have to shut in their oil production because they cannot export the oil, meaning that their wells are producing oil, and they don't have infinite storage. So if the tankers can't take the oil away through the Straits of Hormuz, Iraq is going to have to bring down, and they've started already to bring down their oil production. So it is, and of course, Iran themselves, they produce 4 million barrels of oil per day. And the Middle East itself is, of course, the three big players, Iran, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia, all affected. So this is a shock to the global energy system. It's a shock to global oil markets. Oil is $83 per barrel this morning. You would think it would be higher than that. It might go higher than that, but prior to the events of the last couple of days, the world's oil markets were pretty well supplied because of countries like Guyana, countries like Brazil, and the United States producing a lot of oil. The question which people are asking is, how long will this war continue for? Because President Trump has said 4 weeks, and of course, you don't know. No one knows how long this will continue for.
And we would have had experience in the past with Afghanistan and Iraq. Unfortunately, those went on for years. But I want to ask.
And Iraq was, there were 2 Iraq wars. And there was, of course, as I cited, 1973. That the Arab oil embargo in 73, 74, which led to an oil boom in Trinidad in the 1970s. So that's where we are. I just want to make one more point. There are Trinidadians living and working in Qatar, in Oman, in places like Kuwait. I have a friend who lives in Kuwait. I WhatsApped him last night. Probably was asleep. But we do have friends, family, because of the amount of professionals this country has produced in the oil and gas industry. We have Trinidadians living in the Middle East, working in the Middle East, and we are concerned about their safety and so on. So I have been reaching out to some of them to inquire.
Let me pick your brain for a moment here. Does this moment create an opportunity for us in a different sector? And I'm thinking here tourism, because part of the ethos of UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, I've visited these places. I've walked through Manama. I've been to Doha. there's a sense of safety, and you could leave your phone in the mall and you could leave your phone charging. I've seen phones charging in the mall, nobody interfering with nobody's stuff at all. The Chinese I know living out there don't even lock the door. That safety blanket is now gone. So I'm wondering for the tourists, for those who like to take a holiday, or especially those British folks who love to go to Dubai, as they get a long weekend, they're going on that side of the world. Does this create an opportunity now for our tourism product, not only in Trinidad but for the Caribbean, to receive that particular audience now?
Yeah. So a lot of British tourists, a lot of European tourists, go to Dubai, United Arab Emirates. I have been to Qatar. I've been to Doha, old Doha. It's lovely. And you get I particularly requested to be taken to old Doha because I wanted to see what the old city looked like, right? The sort of Bedouin kind of culture that they have there, and it's lovely, and they do have a lot of tourists and so on. But that safety has that veneer of safety has now been shattered because you have bombs falling in Qatar, you have bombs falling, in Dubai, and so on. And these are two of the wealthiest cities in the world: Doha, Qatar, and Dubai. And so yes, there's an opportunity, but I also wanted to, while we are looking at the revenue impact, and yes, we will get more money for our oil, and yes, we will get more money for our LNG. We must remember we now import fuel, right? So Trinidad and Tobago used to have an operational refinery. That ended in 2018. So now we have to import diesel, gasoline, jet fuel, and so on. So that is going to be more expensive for Paria to import. And as a result, the subsidy, what we call the fuel subsidy, which had not really been much of a fiscal burden for the last 3 years because the price at the pump had been increased, consistently under Mr. Imbert, as many people would recall. And then there was a relaxation of the price of super at the pump in the last budget by $1. So I think the subsidy now becomes an issue again. That's one issue. And the second issue is that our oil production has struggled for the last 11 years, the last 10 years. When I left office, it was 78,000 barrels of oil per day, which isn't satisfactory. But it's now 53,000 barrels of oil per day. I know that the current Minister of Energy has plans in train to increase that production, and these things take time. But and our gas production, our LNG production, is probably at around 40% less than where it was in 2015. So while we have this price shock taking place in the world, our production continues to struggle. There are, of course, we all know about the Manatee project, and we have, we've been hearing about Dragon and so on, and those things are 2028, 2029.
Yeah, that's down the road. But Kevin, let me ask you, and I need to find out this from you before we wrap things up. What's the worst case scenario? I mean, sorry to put you in this kind of spot to bring any kind of
the worst case scenario for the world, or for Trinidad?
Well, for Trinidad, really, with all of this, what's the worst case scenario if this continues to escalate and it gets really out of hand?
Prices. What is bad news for the Middle East is higher prices for us here in Trinidad. So that's positive for us. What is negative for us is the fact that we have to import fuel. We have to import gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, kerosene, and so on. So our subsidy is going to increase. There's also the impact that a prolonged conflagration in the Middle East could have on the global economy, and could have impacts on global inflation and shipping freight rates, insurance rates, and so on. So all those things could go up. So those are the negatives for Trinidad and Tobago. But at the end of the day, we should be grateful that we live in a peaceful.
Well, a zone of peace.
Country. I know.
A zone of peace. You want to say it?
The zone of peace. We live in a peaceful country. I'm not too sure about the zone of peace because we had an event very close to us 2 months ago, right? And that situation in Venezuela has not, in my view, stabilized yet because we are reading things on the internet about the relationship between the U.S. and the current president of Venezuela. But, the negative for Trinidad would be that we have to pay more for fuel. That is, Paria will have to pay more for fuel, which has a knock-on effect on the subsidy, which means that more of, Mr. Tanco's expenditure, and I know the Minister of Finance is balancing quite a lot, expenditure would have to be diverted away from goods and services, bridges, hospitals, schools, and so on, to subsidizing fuel at the pump. And we, as you pointed out, we still enjoy some of the cheapest prices for fuel, for gasoline and diesel, certainly diesel, in the region, in the CARICOM region.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Kevin, as always, a really sincere thanks. It's always a joy speaking with you. You're always great with the facts. You bring a deeper perspective, and
let's hope the war is a short war and the Middle East stabilizes. But the Middle East has not been stabilized for any point in time since I have been alive. So that's asking quite a lot.
Yeah, it's really some. Let's
hope for a short war.
Yeah. Well, I would hope for no war at all, but
no war.
But obviously,
it is there. It is there.
It is there. But yeah, it is there.
Unfortunately, there is loss of life and so on, which is very, very sad and regrettable.
Kevin, all the best, and you be safe, and we'll touch base soon.
Thank you.
Kevin Ramnarine there, attorney at law and energy expert, always bringing interesting perspective to the conversation. We get ready as promised. We touch base for the Women's Wednesday, Give to Gain, International Women's Day, a very important talking point, and we treat with women in politics. The opposition leader joins me next.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488 or visit our website to order.
This March the 11th and the 12th, the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce presents Catalyst SME Conference 2026, where potential becomes performance for SMEs. Over 2 days, gain practical tools to access finance, conduct market research, and position your business for real growth. And on Saturday the 14th, meet real buyers through curated B2B meetings and dynamic pop-up shops, designed to turn strategy into opportunity. 3 days, real strategy, real connections, real opportunity. Register now.
The fact that they ask the questions, those challenging questions that no other media house would ask. So, shed light on those things that are in the dark, those stories that no one else wants to cover.
I grew up reading The Guardian, actually. It's a household name.
About The Guardian, one thing that I like, the human interest stories have increased.
See the investigative pieces on the human trafficking. I find that very interesting.
You go more in depth.
On sports, especially local sports, and that's one of my highlights for The Guardian.
Yeah, I've been in Ghana since The Guardian started coming out, started working. I was a newspaper man.
Could the stories that are being covered are well detailed and you get more facts.
Also, I think the editorials, I think they're doing a good job and they're speaking in truths, and they're challenging the government to make things better.
Me in particular, of recently, the last 2-3 months, I've been reading The Guardian. I'm seeing a lot of news about the neighborhoods and the communities, and I even saw my community featured, and I was proud.
Oh, The Guardian.
The Guardian?
Guardian.
Trinidad Guardian.
The Guardian.
The Guardian.
Trinidad Guardian.
The Guardian is my first choice.
Struggling with blood sugar swings, high blood pressure, or stiff joints? Take control with Aja Nutrition's powerful wellness trio. Berberine Plus supports healthy blood sugar. Blood pressure support helps keep your pressure in check. And Joint Aid keeps your joints moving so you can stay active every day. Don't wait. Choose Aja Nutrition for trusted, effective solutions. Available at Pennywise and leading pharmacies nationwide. Feel better, move better, live better with Aja Nutrition.
Gaming Express Limited is a premium importer and retailer of the highest quality brand name electronics. We stock the widest range of PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, Samsung, and Apple devices and accessories. Visit us at Shop 52, Level 2, Gulf City Mall in San Fernando, or contact us by phone or WhatsApp message at 687-7480 or 301-9797 or 798-1280. Like our Facebook and Instagram pages for updates on products and services.
Welcome to Holiday Inn Express and Suites.
Do enjoy, Stacey. You want some coffee?
Can I have a
Perfect then.
That's exactly what we need.
Hey, the pool is this way.
Whatever you're here for, we're here for you. Stay smart at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites.
This is more than just music. This is where you find the best of TNT. This is more than just a vibe. This is where Bollywood gets a twist. This is more than just energy. This is Bhangra and indie pop too. This is the mix. This is the life. Lock on or log on now. Sangeet 106.1 FM. This is authentic East Indian radio. This is us.
Calling all filmmakers, producers, content creators, influencers, and recording artists. If you're looking to rent a versatile studio space with green screen, video wall, cyclorama, and more, look no further. GM Labs is here to make your dreams a reality. Located in the heart of Port of Spain on St. Vincent Street, GM Labs is your one-stop shop for all your creative needs with over 2,800 square feet to work with. Take your creative concept to the final product at GM Labs. Give us a call or WhatsApp or message us on our Instagram and Facebook pages at GM Labs TT.
Are you tired of the same old boring drive home from work? Look no further. Get ready for the ultimate after-work rush with Freedom 106.5 FM's The Overdrive with Davey. Mondays to Fridays from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Let Davey take you on a thrilling ride of non-stop entertainment and education. He covers the topics of the day, delves into the latest food and lifestyle trends, and brings dynamic guests from exciting professions to share their professional stories and experiences. Take advantage of this energizing and engaging experience. Tune into Freedom 106.5 FM, Mondays to Fridays, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. for The Overdrive with Davey, the ultimate way to end your day with a bang.
Women's Wednesday, and indeed a very important conversation ahead with the opposition leader and a political leader of the People's National Movement, also Member of Parliament. Penelope Beckles joins me live on set, and let me say firstly, to make it 3 decades plus within the political sphere, that is an achievement in itself, and I'm sure from when you started to where you are now, it's been probably a journey that can only be told via probably a book. I don't know if there are plans to journal your experience.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yes. I'm sure. And I'm sure there's so many learning curves there. So welcome. Great to see you. And I look forward to our conversation as per usual.
Yeah. Well, let me thank the Morning Brew for, recognizing International Women's Day, International Women's Week. I think it's very important for the media to use the opportunity to talk about issues relating to women. So, thank you.
When you started your journey back in the 90s, you could recall any female mentors you would have probably, anybody who was there already in the space that you could have leaned to for advice, or it was a scenario where you had to dive in the deep end and had to swim on your own?
Well, at that time, yes, I would say, I mean, there are a couple of mentors, but you're not necessarily local, you know, but shortly after becoming a counselor, because I started off as a counselor in 1992, I joined an organization where Hillary Clinton was the chair of that foundation, and so from there, well, I will say that the network of non-governmental organizations, Hazel Brown, you know, Jackie Burgess, a number of them, they would have been at least a network of women, encouraged, did a lot of training, you know, a lot of mentoring. Yes, so. Yeah. Merle Hodge as well.
So they had that. There was indeed a little template to work with at the very start.
Yes, there was a template because they focus a lot on training.
Fantastic.
Okay, and then of course the Women's League of the People's National Movement. Eric Williams would say that's the backbone of the People's National Movement. So there were a number of women in the Women's League, just focusing on your development as well, explaining to you exactly how the party works. And that was very critical for me in my development within the party.
What are some of the challenges being in such a male-dominated space, especially when you started being in the room, all that testosterone around? Sometimes I could imagine the kind of language. I don't know what would have been the personality and the temperament of some of these politicians back then. How did you maneuver that space and treat with the challenges of being probably the only female or one of two females in a room with just only men?
Yes. Well, what I would say is that I was not just in politics. I mean, I became a lawyer in 1988. It was some 38 years ago. And I was also very active in the credit union movement. So, you know, you were in these different spaces where there were a lot of men around. And it meant that for each of these, whether it's the credit union movement, whether it's the legal fraternity, or whether it's the politics, those spaces were all dominant with men. So you needed to know how to interact with them and recognize as well that there are a lot of men that support women. You know, sometimes we don't discuss that there are a lot of men that support women. I mean, even in your home, your brothers, your husband. So it's equally important to recognize that you can learn. I mean, brothers have always been very protective. You know, they allow you into their spaces, which others may not. So I remember growing up, my two brothers, I mean, we are just 1 year apart. And so there are different spaces that you would go with them, and that allows you the opportunity, you know, to be able to interact.
Of course, recently the milestone of becoming the first political leader of the People's National Movement, shattering that glass ceiling. How high up on achievements does that rank in your mind?
Well, yes, that would be very, very high. Simply because, you know, you're the first. You're the first, both in terms of the party as well as within the party as the leader of the opposition.
Understood.
But I had the opportunity, Dr. Rowley, in serving as well as a leader of opposition business in the Senate, and also having the opportunity to serve, you know, through his appointment as well as an ambassador to United Nations. And that would have given me the opportunity, because every year in March, that's where you have the discussions about women in politics. I mean, this year, the theme is rights, justice, and action. So, you know, you had the opportunity, people like Grace Talma again, you know, you would have gone to the UN way before you even entered politics. And that, again, gave you the opportunity, training, understanding, being able to recognize and compare that you're not alone in this. It's a number of countries where you now have women emerging as political leaders.
Well, we find ourselves in a unique place in Trinidad and Tobago because we have our head of state, our president, our prime minister, and opposition leader, all women. And based on that, through your decades in the sphere, have you seen a better ratio? Are you seeing more women stepping in? And more so, what's the interaction like? Is there any sense of solidarity and that commonality when you all, especially across the political divide, is there a cordial kind of understanding when you all meet in social gatherings, or probably when you go down to the tea room in the house?
Well, I am the president of the women's arm of the Trinidad and Tobago Parliament. And that organization is set up specifically for that purpose. We haven't really gotten there just yet, but it's important that the organization exists. The organization has something called Yes Leadership, where you train young women who want to get involved in leadership and politics between the ages of 19 and 29. So that caucus, that crossing party lines, which you do see in a number of countries. I mean, I've visited Canada, and it's one of the things we discuss at the United Nations. I have had the distinction as well as serving as president of UN Women. So it's one of the things that you encourage because you want to have collaboration. You want to have agreement, you want to have these discussions, because even though you may be from different political parties, the issues relating to domestic violence, related to leadership, related to women in finance, related to women and human rights, all those issues are important regardless of the political party that you belong to.
What's the current mood though? What's been your observation within recent time? Because clearly we're seeing a better ratio, more women are coming into this space, but just that general interaction, is there a cordial and a respectful interaction when people are not debating?
I would say yes, there is a respectful interaction. At the end of the day, I mean, politics can be very rough, it can be very difficult, but you have to take a personal responsibility in terms of how you respect office. And I would say yes, that exists, but you still have the cut and thrust of politics,
of course,
as you would see. One of the important intervention, again, through the network of non-governmental organization as well as CWIL, which is another organization that was established in the Caribbean for the advancement of women, is local government. So you have seen quite a number of increase of women in local government. And again, credit must go to those organizations who specifically have been set up to say, here is a space, here is your training, here is the data. And because local government is, I mean, as you know, the cut and thrust of politics. Yes. That's where you meet, people on the ground, basic issues, garbage collection, roads, infrastructure. And you know that a lot of women are involved, be it in Girl Guides, be it in the village council, the PTA. So in a sense, you really have a natural training for leadership there. And some don't always most of them don't want to hear anything about politics.
And that's the funny thing, because, women, naturally, they are leaders in the household and in a lot of ways in the community. And the really brave ones step into this space, but sometimes they step in without any advice. What advice you want to give this morning to women thinking about it if they are indeed approached and they feel the sense of apprehension to step into this space? What could you tell them to get them over the line and give them that confidence if they want to step into the political sphere?
To say that they are natural leaders. I mean, you're leading in the home, you're managing. I mean, managing a home, managing finance, ensuring that every day there is enough food on the table, ensuring that whatever money that is allocated to you, that you manage. And I'm sure you know from your mom. I mean, women always, some way, if you need to have a loan, you need to borrow, you could be assured. So women are excellent in terms of managing finances. Excellent in terms of doing a multiplicity of things. So you're looking after the children, you're cooking, you're washing, you ensuring the place is clean, and then you go into all of these things. You make sure you're there at the PTA, and you make sure you're there at the village council. Anything that is involved to ensure that your children have better opportunities, be it at home, be it at abroad, be it in terms of studies. And I think one important thing I'd want to mention when we talk about women, I mean, women have dominated in Trinidad in almost every sphere, and not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but also in the Caribbean. And there is an organization that has actually been established and to do the research and to show you whether it's in law, whether it's in education. I mean, even in male-dominated professions like engineering, you are now seeing women advancing. And the question arises, how did that happen? And it's really the education system, going back to Eric Williams, really making a decision saying that education was free at the primary school, tertiary level, and that allowed women to capitalize on that educational opportunities and make themselves, therefore, available to the world and benefit from the education.
Indeed, and you could go to any higher learning institution now. You see lots of women enrolled and part of the process and doing their particular bit to advance themselves. So kudos in that regard. The theme, this gift again, what does that mean to you, and how could we apply that into meaningful action, that gift again concept when we consider women in politics, that theme?
Well, again, it goes back to utilizing the opportunities that you have had. And women give in almost every area and really don't ask for anything. So, I mean, I can tell you in my political sphere, as a candidate, you are absolutely sure, and you have been a candidate, that when the bell rings, I mean, the women are the one from 6 o'clock in the morning. I mean, they tell you, that's the time. No husband, no children, turn on the pot, and they're there every single day, every hour with you, walking, providing all the support, understanding the community and knowing everybody in the street. And again, that is linked to going back to what I said, being in the PTA, being in the village council. Sometimes as a mother, you are not just a mother for your children, you're a mother for the community, you're a mother for the street. And therefore they know the importance of community work, they know the environment, and they could say to you almost every place, this is where this one lives, that one lives. And a lot of the work that you don't have a clue, they make it look very, very easy.
On the lighter side, as we wrap things up, how important is image? Because I know that the judgment a lot of times with the woman is the measuring stick is a bit sharper.
Yes.
And people look at what she'll wear, what she had for that particular function. Is that something top of mind? And what advice you'll say to women stepping into this space as it pertains to image and how they present themselves?
Well, to be comfortable in your own brand, to be comfortable with your space. Like everything else, I mean, there are those who, because sometimes it's all about funding, people believe that this issue of dress, right? So when you come in from the community, sometimes you come from a village, that may not be something that you think about. But like everything else, whether it's in speaking, whether it's the whole issue of branding, whether it's the issue of dressing, whether it's the issue of image, I mean, there will always be those sisters, those mentors who will be able to say to you, come, let's have a little chat.
Yeah.
But the minute people start to criticize you, that is not for you to take a decision and say, listen, I am not getting involved in that. Because criticism will come regardless of whether it's your dress, regardless of whether it's how you speak, regardless of how you walk. That's going to be a natural part of life. Don't ever let that deter you.
Yeah, good advice. Because a lot of times with the men especially, they might just change a tie.
Change a tie, change a shirt,
One suit they're beaten like a road march.
But when we don't have that luxury, I mean, people look at every single thing.
Yeah.
Your hair, your shoes, your dress, but don't let that define you. Stay focused in terms of your message, in terms of your decision to improve your community, to improve your country, and to contribute always to a better country and a better world.
We're remiss of me to ask, not to ask if you want to mention anything about some of the current affairs and the issues of the particular day, any particular perspective as we wrap things up on this Wednesday morning?
Well, the big item now is the state of emergency. Yesterday we had a press conference and we dealt extensively on it.
Yes, so that's on the front page, actually.
Okay. I will just say to the members of the public, we will be having a public meeting on Friday. In Tunapuna, yes, to share with the public, because this is all about education. So often bills are debated in Parliament and people really don't have a clue as to, what exactly is the legislation, how will it impact on your daily lives. And these regulations, because you think about the statement, there's a state of emergency. But actually, the regulations, which people very often are not conscious of, they're not aware of what the regulations. So we are going to take the time to share, take some questions, and to say to the average member of the country, be aware. because in that new legislation, they talk about articles, they talk about oral, and some of it, of course, was in the legislation before, but you have been hearing a lot of discussions about social media, about your phones, and now that everything has changed in politics. I mean, you go back, when I became a councillor in 1992, a phone wasn't really a big thing. Now people can't do without a phone. So it's become fashionable to do a live, to do a TikTok, and remember the social media activist that was arrested. And in a state of emergency, if you're locked away, basically that's there for the time. So your freedom, being denied your freedom, if you are aware of the regulations, you may make a totally different decision.
Where and what time is that particular coming together?
It's going to be 7
Friday.
o'clock in Tunapuna. We haven't decided the exact places yet, but we would be putting that out very soon in the public.
Any closing remarks?
Well, I want to say Happy International Women's Day. As we approach on Saturday, there will be an assembly at the square, the network of non-governmental organizations. They have organized, as I said, as president of the Trinidad and Tobago Women's Parliamentarian. I want to say to the young girls who are interested in politics, there's the Yes Leadership. Come and join. Come and benefit from training. Come and benefit from mentoring. I don't know, I certainly didn't have the benefit of that kind of intervention. And finally, politics can change your life. It can also make a big difference in your country, in your schools, in your community. If you love politics, and even if you don't, think about what you can do always to improve your country. And there are a lot of women that have made a big, big difference. And to the young women, you too can make a difference. Consider politics.
Thank you so much for being here. And what you said there towards the end is so important. The fact that there is that particular platform now for women to get that mentorship to learn, compared to when you started, that it did not exist. It shows that yourself and many of the women who would have played their part in the last 3 decades of the politics would have paved the way and made it. All we could ever do is move the needle and make it easier for the generation to come. And I think in that regard, you all have done well. So keep up the great work, and thanks for being here this morning.
Yes, thank you.
Indeed, we get ready to, well, I think we already made that transition into the second hour. It's 1 minute past 7. We'll take a pause and we come back with the open forum. Your calls live after the break.
Good morning, I'm Doris Polo with headline news on CNC3 and the TBC Radio Network. With the government's second state of emergency taking effect from midnight on Tuesday morning, the Attorney General, in a national address where the media was not invited to pose questions, said based on intelligence and the current murder rate, the government and National Security Council had to act.
We were further advised that criminal gangs had increased acts of violence on a scale so extensive that they have resulted in multiple deaths in mass shootings. The Prime Minister and the National Security Council had no choice.
Since assuming office in April, the country has been under emergency powers for 7 of the 10 months it has been in government. Trinidad and Tobago has been out of an SOE only during May and June 2025 and again in February 2026. The SOE will have an initial lifespan of 15 days and will then need a simple majority in the Parliament for an extension of 3 months. Meanwhile, Independent Senator Anthony Vieira criticized the SOE, saying he's not convinced it addresses the root causes of crime. While questioning the necessity of sweeping emergency powers, the senior counsel maintained that he voted against ZOSO because government refused to include amendments during the debate in the upper house. He argued that an SOE is the lesser of the 2 measures.
I really am not persuaded that there is a need for an SOE. I thought that there had been a decrease in crime. And I thought on the last occasion, the Prime Minister, when she was in opposition, had decried having SOEs in place of a proper crime plan. So that's number one. And the second point I'll make is that, having said that, I prefer the SOE than of having had the ZOSO bill, as it had been presented. I think we are probably better off at the SOE.
Hours before the SOE was announced, an Arima businessman was shot dead outside of his home. Zach Puran, a popular stationery store owner, had just driven into his yard at Santa Rosa Heights around 6 p.m. on Monday when he was ambushed. Residents of the usually quiet community said they heard a volley of gunshots. One witness reported hearing about 6, followed by 2 more moments later. Those were your 7 a.m. news headlines. We'll have another news update at 8 a.m. on the TBC Radio Network.
Visit Tire Clinic Marketing, New Truck and OTR Tire Service Center at number 30 and 32 Montrose Main Road, Chabonas. Call today at 665-8973 or 672-3419. Alignment services available. Tire Clinic Marketing, Truck and OTR Service Center. A tire for every need.
Introducing the new Sun Mix Nut Bar. Available in 3 delicious flavors: granola raisin nut, almond cranberry crunch, and coconut almond crisp. All packed on a rich bed of dark chocolate.
Taste the good life, snack right. Taste the good life anytime. Good life.
Sun Mix Sunshine Snacks Sun Mix Nut Bar. Taste the good life.
When it comes to cleaning your spaces spotless and professionally maintained, trust the team that leaves no corners unchecked. 360 Cleaning and Facility Maintenance offers complete janitorial and routine maintenance services, upholstery and deep cleaning, power washing, outdoor and exterior care, floor cleaning and maintenance, even grass cutting and asphalt recoating, from offices to commercial spaces and residential properties. They handle it all with precision and care. Call 491-5276 or email 360cleaning.sales@gmail.com. 360 Cleaning and Facility Maintenance. No corners left unchecked.
Welcome back. 6 minutes after 7 o'clock. It's open forum time. Here's where I sit back, I take in your perspective, and I take some notes. And we learn together. So the lines are open. I think someone is there. Good morning. Welcome.
Pleasant good morning, Jason.
Hey, Shagonas. I'm listening, my brother. Go ahead.
All right. Pleasant good morning to you, and congratulations on the win for Arsenal over the weekend. Right? All you needed that.
Yeah, well, listen, today is more important because, again, you know, down to this business end, because I saw Liverpool, unfortunately, I think you all lost yesterday. What went on with Livers yesterday? I think, can't remember nonetheless, but it's a must win going forward. There's no room for Russia going with Arsenal. Trust me, it's tough.
Yeah. All right. First of all, I want to say kudos to the Prime Minister and to the government, right? Relevant to the SOE. I will tell you something, Jason. If 2 Panadol working for a headache, you have to continue to take your 2 Panadol, because let me tell you this. The SOEs in the past would have caused a reduction in crime, and not only under the UNC, you know, also under the PNM, right? It would have caused a reduction in crime, and we could see that when the SOE finished, right? When it ended, right? All of a sudden, crime escalated again, right? So therefore, we had to be over the criminals, right? Like over the criminals right through.
No, understand, yeah. No, understand, yeah, but I want to just stick up in, because I know I like to have these discussions with you. So we take any Panadol for the headache, but if the doctors analyze it's an aneurysm, it's a deeper issue, it's just really, you're getting rid of the headache, you know, you're not getting rid of what could actually kill you, you know. And what could kill us is the fact that we're not treating with crime at the core, from the family, come right back to the institutions.
And I agree with you, Jason. I agree with you. But here's what I'm saying. If better cannot be done at the set point in time, we need to stick with this. Right? I understand what you're saying, but there is no permanent fix as for where these things are concerned. Right? Is a work in progress. And clearly we could see that, you know what, every time it have a SOE, there's a reduction in crime. We would not get a permanent elimination in crime. Only if God come down and run in the country, it ain't got no crime. Understand what I'm saying? But we will always have crime. But what we have to look at is minimum damage. That's what we have to look at, right? So I agree with the Prime Minister as for where this is concerned, because this at the set point in time is the best thing to the country as for where crime is concerned.
Yeah.
What I do not agree with the Prime Minister is when she said that we support USA and Israel, right? Now, here's what I'm saying. She should take a neutral stance where that is concerned. Because I'll tell you something, Jason. If I back in Liverpool, I don't care if Barcelona play and Real Madrid. That has nothing to do with me. Understand what I'm saying?
It's true.
And
it's
these
true.
this thing have nothing to do with Trinidad and Tobago. So she's making more enemies than friends by coming out publicly and making a statement, right, that here's what we support USA. And this Israel Prime Minister, he must be the most violent, satanic man in the world, if I may say that. This is Benjamin Netanyahu, because let me tell you something, they have a ceasefire on paper, but the military of Israel continuing to batter down, to oppress and to kill these Palestinian people. Understand what I'm saying, right? So she ought to take a stance as for where this is concerned as being neutral, right, rather than coming out and making a statement. This have nothing to do with us. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I just say it as it is, Jason.
No, you always do.
I just say it as it is.
You always do.
Right?
You always do.
And I want to make one last statement here. I heard Penelope Beckles speaking just now there in connection with she made some statements about the women and uplifting themselves. Well, I am all for uplifting everybody, but I'll tell you something, Jason. Women nowadays, they need to have some more respect for themselves. Understand what I'm saying? If they want people to respect them, right? There's a lot of women out here, right? They're doing things to men, right? I'm just saying naturally across the board. And, you know, if somebody tried to do this, if our next woman tried to do this son that they want to mash up the place, but they have no problem doing that to our next woman, boy, child. Understand what I'm saying from a relationship perspective?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Many of them, I will say this, many of them, and let me let you know one time, all who can cook, but they want to go boat ride, right? Let me tell you something. All they have to pull up all their socks and have some more prestige within all themselves. Understand what I'm saying? When all they walk in the road. Have a good day, Jason.
All the best, Shagonas. Shagonas coming in, as always, very sharp, but I do stand with him as it pertains to the Prime Minister's remarks there. You don't move like Farley. Yeah, Farley say you're not in that. Farley say you have no comment. You're not speaking on them kind of affairs. Let's set to Faizo bad. Faizo, what's up, my brother?
Brother Jason, good morning. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
Brother Faizo, welcome.
Jason, with respect to the Prime Minister's stance on the situation in Iran and America and Israel, remember, she can't backpedal as it is now. She has to stay strong in her support for the U.S. because she has been doing that for the past, let's say, year.
But Brother Faizo, I mean, she would have given the support based on something that was in our region, our proximity, which is Venezuela. But Iran is so far removed. Why are we putting our mouth in that particular debacle?
Jason, the world is a global village. We can't alienate and isolate one from the other.
But Brother Faizo, you know, no comment sometimes is a commenter. You don't have to comment on everything, you know.
And I agree with you. But what I'm saying, remember the magic word she has always been evangelizing is democracy. And clearly, she supports democracy. And from all indication, I may not have all the facts at hand, but democracy was not alive and well in Iran.
Well, here it is. Democracy is not alive and well in Kuwait, in Dubai, in these places do have a democracy, you know, Faizo. Saudi Arabia is not a democracy, you know. These are places run by a family, by a king, and there's no moving of this king. There are no elections in Bahrain.
Yeah, but what I am saying to you, but the oppression, you might not have democracy, but in the absence of democracy, you do not replace it with oppression. And clearly that has been happening in Iran from all indication. But I want to touch on another thing, Jason, is that missing file.
Yes.
You know, our people be sweeping that under the carpet. I think you must be able to make an effort to get Mr. Hines on the program and ask him to explain to Trinidad and Tobago, because I think he was the sitting minister at that time.
Yeah, Brother Faizo, I hear you. We could try.
Get Mr. McDonald Jacob. These are the things we want to unearth. Let me don't deal with things that is so far-fetched that we don't have any control over.
Well, in all fairness, Brother Faizo, McDonald Jacob did give a commenter, and he would have...
Yes, but I am saying to you, try to get them. Let me get different perspectives.
All right.
You have one talking one half side of the mouth and the other one dumb. So, but we need to find out what is happening. Let me deal with what is affecting us directly.
All right.
And it's only when we start to clean our own house, then we will start to see about other people.
Thank you.
Take care, my brother.
All the best, Faizo. Funny enough, for Gerald Hines, he's been lying very low. I have not really seen or heard from him since he's out of public office. But I guess we can make the attempt. We got a contact, so we'll try our very best and see if we get some kind of commentary on that missing file debacle. Kuva, good morning.
Good morning, Jason.
Morning, Brother Kuva. Welcome.
Morning to you, Jason, I called in this morning concerning the SOE. And I feel in this SOE is not, the water down this SOE, it's not effective. Because you still have a lot, under the SOE, we still have a lot of crimes taking place, home invasions, and all this stuff. So I believe this SOE is a plaster they put in on a cut or on a saw. And it's not effective. I mean, we have crime here, and you have to look at crime from all different points, from a social perspective. You have to look at crime from a holistic point. And look how much people lost their jobs and home and stuff. So crime, we will have a surge in crime, but what I'm saying is that we have to implement other measures in place to help deal with the crime.
I guess they're going after the gangs, and they say they have intelligence stating that, out of the jails, certain public officials on a hit list, and so they want to kind of take, I would imagine, take front before front take you, basically. You're on the offensive, proactive as opposed to reactive.
Yeah, because what I'm saying is that, but Jason, they brought this before, because the last time they said they had a hit on certain ministers. And they brought the SOE in place, and when you look what happened.
So you find, Kuva, the potency...
We have celebrations taking place as normal.
So you find the potency of the SOE is gone, they don't have the sting anymore?
This is what I'm saying, the water is not effective. We have to look at other measures. Jason, Panama was a place that had a lot of gang violence. Right now, Panama is one of the most safest places on the planet. People going to shop, people moving to lift up. Panama dismantle all the gangs, and we should take a pattern from Panama. Just most of the crime is gang related, and we need to go after the gang leaders. We have to bring laws in place. We have to take a tougher stand on firearms, because the firearm is the chosen weapon of choice to do homicide. We have to bring like 3 strikes to hold it on firearm to an automatic prison, 10 to 15 years.
Well, Kuva,
put you away.
Honestly, though, I must... No, and I'm hearing you loud and clear, but in all fairness, when we look at it, again, this is watching this from a balanced perspective, and I sit here every morning and I try to really decode what's happening. I must say the current administration, they're really taking a kind of zero tolerance, a really hardline approach, because you see a lot of what was happening with some of those contracts that were given out. Yes, they shut down major programs and they put a lot of people on the breadline, but there was a plenty bubble taking place in them thing. And what they should have done, to me, would have tackled the people who have the contracts and leave the folks who are employed to at least eat a food.
Exactly.
But you could see they actually, trust me, they are the first in a long time I've seen that actually went head on with people who get in bogus contract for just...
Oh yeah, I agree with you.
You understand? For just being bad in an area.
But what I'm saying, Jason, too, the SOE should target, as someone said, the SOE should target the criminals and not the citizens.
Yeah,
They bring a thing where they could seize your phone, they could go into your phone, you have to be careful how you post stuff on social media. So it's a blanket that you're targeting the citizens as well.
Well, Kuva, when you stay on the line, well, Ali still looking on, because after this last call, we're going to take a break and actually treat with the same SOE regulations from the perspective of a human rights lawyer, Renako Greg. So he will kind of break it down for us in a way from the legal standpoint. And that's an important conversation that's coming up after this call. Welcome.
Jason, morning.
Hey, Pleasantville. What's up, my brother?
How you doing? Yeah, man.
Go ahead, man.
Jason, let me first start by saying to the Prime Minister, to be seen is to be believed. And this way that the Prime Minister intends to govern from home, make her home an office, and to shy away from the media and only make use of social media, it to me is very disrespectful on the population. This is our third SOE, and she refuses to come out and face the media because you as a leader have to be able to defend your policies. If you can't do that, something is clearly wrong. Jason, if there's credible intelligence out there, and it has been said before that there's credible intelligence, why isn't people being brought before our courts? Why isn't people just being detained and released? And where is the credible evidence? And we are seeing where the police has been for some time now losing a lot of matters in our court. Even though they arrest people and bring them to court, the chances are likely that they will get off. And that is worrying when I see the way these things are happening. I saw already, you see, if you are telling me that I have to be careful if I say something it's going to be prejudicial to public safety, well, lying also as a politician, when you're lying, it's also prejudicial to public safety because you lied to the population and told us that that was not, the U.S. was there to build a road. And that was prejudicial to public safety because that could have had repercussions like what we're seeing in the Middle East. That was a target that could have been attacked in the case of any war in Venezuela. So all I'm asking the Prime Minister is because, you know, you're calling SOEs and saying it's target, and that is the only crime-fighting tool that you're saying that you're going to use. You're not telling us anything else about social programs and anything else of what you do after the SOE or what. There's nothing that is happening, and you are saying that this is your only tool that you're going to be using, where it is really suspending our constitutional rights. So I'll go back. To be seen is to be believed. She has to put in an appearance before the public and before the media, Jason. Very soon.
Fully understand Pleasantville. Spot on, to be quite honest. I'll stick up in there because that's going to open a whole different conversation. But Pleasantville, yeah, thanks for the perspective. Good commentary as we look to get into some more SOE discussions. This time around, the legal framework, the do's and don'ts. We'll go through that with a human rights lawyer on the SOE regulations. He's stepping in next. That's Runako Gregg. Stand by for a very important conversation ahead.
Things don't always go as expected. Be ready with Trinry for auto, home, business and group life. Call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Huge insurance premium. Pay your premiums bit by bit with FlexiPay from Trinry. For more manageable auto, home and commercial insurance payments, call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Trinry. Premier insurance coverage for less.
My man Andre.
Good night, Anthony.
7 years with the company, and we couldn't do it without Antoine.
Happy birthday, dear Alejandro. Happy birthday to you.
Who's Angelo?
We're like coworkers who don't forget your name.
I'm Angelo.
CG United. Good like that.
Runako Gregg joins me, a human rights lawyer, for a very important conversation ahead. SOE regulations. Runako, great to see you, man. I look forward because it's a big learning curve for myself and all looking on as it pertains to the clause, the do's and don'ts via this latest SOE. Welcome.
Thank you, Jason. Pleasure to be here.
I want to start with this particular Section 11 via the Emergency Powers Regulation that speaks to no person having the ability to endeavor, whether orally or otherwise, to influence public opinion in a manner likely to be prejudicial to public safety. Outside of the legal jargon, in layman's term, what does that mean?
Yeah, so essentially, I suppose one of the issues with this is that it could be interpreted broadly, right? So the idea that I suppose an interpretation is that you could be jeopardizing by the way you're conducting yourself, if you're jeopardizing like public safety, right? And that could have a broad interpretation. And so that is one of the issues. But I think we also need to understand that fundamentally, when a state of emergency is called, it means that many rights, your rights are essentially under our Constitution being suspended. And so your freedom of expression, your freedom of mobility, all of these things can be restricted under a state of emergency, right? So if you're looking at Regulation 11, where statements prejudicial to public safety, well, what is that, right? We haven't been told exactly what that may be, and I think there's a concern among the citizenry that, based on comments that have been made by certain government officials in recent weeks, really, that you having something, you saying something that is critical of, or against, or in protest to what the government of the day is doing, could be perceived as undermining, the good of the nation.
Well, it brings me to the next question, because what does that do now for public gathering? I'm seeing where the nurses, they have a planned protest during their lunch hour at the San Fernando Hospital on Friday under the state of emergency and the Section 11. Could they go ahead with that voicing of the opinion for their non-payment of salaries and all the grievances? And I mean, it's a legitimate grievance because nurses play a pivotal role in the health ecosystem. So nurses, teachers, all those who have a grievance right now, what, they have to pat down? Could they still gather based on this SOE framework?
Well, when we consider the reason why the state of emergency was called, and the state of emergency was declared, we have been told that to reduce the crime situation and the activity of the gangs within Trinidad and Tobago. So on that basis, a protest for salary or certain like workers' rights, these sorts of things should not fall under that category when you put it in that context, because why was the state of emergency? The state of emergency wasn't called to restrict protest action, at least based on what we've been told. It hasn't been called to restrict protest action. So the Nurses Association, they should be able to follow the same kind of procedures as outside of the state of emergency, which is to kind of notify the police, let them know that we're going to have this protest, and the police are aware of it. So it shouldn't be perceived as something that is runs afoul of this regulation.
But the reason I would have said that, I remember when the folks gathered outside the parliament on a weekend, that was during Carnival, for the shooting of Joshua Samaru. The riot squad was called out, men in their full garb, shield, mask. And I'm saying, that was a bit much of a, that was a stretch. And they were just there. I mean, obviously people lifting their voice. I didn't see nobody really creating any havoc per se. And it was also, as mentioned, over the weekend. It wasn't even during the week where parliamentarians would have been in the House.
Yeah, and I think this is something that, citizens of Trinidad and Tobago really had to think about. And outside of our state of emergency, because that action, we weren't under a state of emergency at that time, and you see this, people protesting peacefully, right? There wasn't to say there was no There was no fighting. There wasn't any body necessarily like being threatened. There were people who hold their placards and were calling for justice. And so then why is there a response like that from the police, which appears to be intimidation? These big guns and the shields and is one thing. The police, of course, wouldn't want protesters to get in the way of oncoming traffic, things that may affect safety, right? Road safety in that sense. So, or they shouldn't be blocking the road in a way that is going to jeopardize that. So those are legitimate kind of concerns that the police may have. But the approach that is taken, and as you pointed to, like, riot squad and this sense of, if these people are there, like maybe something they go in and escalate and go after parliamentarians. Like there wasn't anything like that. So it seemed like overkill, and so it's likely that you will see a response like that under the SOE to protest actions.
What about your personal premises, your home, your apartment, your dwelling place? Is it under the state of emergency? Officers could just walk in with no warrant? What's the interaction like if someone knocks at your door, TTPS personnel? What's your advice in that regard?
So if the police have, and this is a big kind of element of under the state of emergency, that whereas outside of the state of emergency, things like police entering premises and detention and arrest, these things, whereas before they would need a warrant. If they believe that you committed or are committing or about to commit a crime, they can detain you, right? So, that is something that people have to be aware of, that it's an extraordinary power that the police now have under these states of emergency. Under these regulations, like, you could be detained. You could be detained up to 48 hours just without having to be brought before a magistrate, right? So it is something that, again, the reason for the state of emergency being declared, we have been told, is to crack down on gang activity and crime and these sorts of things. So one would hope that those who are being targeted in this way are those who are actually, committing these acts. But of course, these are broad powers, and that is the danger in a state of emergency, is that anybody could really be targeted. But of course, we know that typically is certain groups of people from a certain class background living in certain areas who tend to be targeted under these conditions.
And based on that, Runako, what's your advice? Should it be that we comply and then complain? What would be your advice, your legal advice to someone who is in the middle of that storm? Door knock, officers take them in for questioning, and 48 hours of their liberty is taken away. How should one conduct themselves if they have to go through that process?
Yeah, under these circumstances, what you said is exactly right, is comply and then complain. There's trying to resist or say that you have no right to do this, officer, you don't have a warrant. It is useless at that point. It is better to just comply, and then afterwards you come back and say, look, this was wrong. I was never given any real, reason for being questioned in this way, or So it is better to comply and then complain. I think it is the best advice under these circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, what's your advice generally to the public looking on as we maneuver yet another state of emergency? Now, many are suggesting the potency and the sting is not there. It's life as usual. However, the reality is legally, officers are given way more leeway to pursue and to conduct their particular investigation or exercise. So based on all of that, what's your advice to keep us aware and make sure that we are on top of our game during this most recent state of emergency?
Well, I think is a matter of just, unfortunately, it is a situation that we have to do our best to comply. And it's not just police, right? It's also our protective services. The Army, in a sense, has been given police powers as well. So, it is best for the population to comply under these conditions. But of course, there are social and political implications of what is happening. And I think questions raised about how effective is this, and is it a real way to deal with crime? I mean, these are legitimate concerns that citizens are now raising.
And we could,
in as much as we try not to run afoul of the law, these are things to really consider as we try to move forward in dealing with these matters.
And as we wrap things up, Runako, in the seconds that remain, literally, if you feel there is an injustice, you feel you have been manhandled in a particular way, you can pursue you can take a legal pursuit of the injustice after the state of emergency is done, right?
That is correct. Yeah, that is correct.
Just wanted to find out that for sure. Well, and that's where people like you come in, Runako. I want to thank you so much for touching base this morning and really giving us a broader perspective on this state of emergency. Runako Greg, human rights lawyer, touching base with us on this Wednesday. All the best.
Thanks, Jason.
You're most welcome. Runako Greg. And he says, listen, you get it to the end. If for any reason you get rough up, you get touch up, you find the movement and the treatment was a bit severe, there is a particular course you can take after it's all said and done. It might take a while, but it's within your right to pursue your justice. Let's get ready. Edie Stewart, well, it's a state of emergency. Edie had this plan weeks ago. Is it still going to take place on Friday lunchtime in San Fernando? Edie will give me the answer after the break.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488 or visit our website to order.
We are your one-stop, most convenient, most helpful, most caring community pharmacy. Our pharmaceutical services include dispensing medicines, repeat dispensing, clinical governance, but we also have a fully stocked convenience store featuring our refreshment aisle, grocery lane, personal care products, toys, pet supplies. We are most conveniently located out of the traffic, just 2 minutes off the highway in Heartland Plaza, in Deba Chaguanas. Contact us on 220-8705 or 470-5938 and visit us soon. Step into ABC Doors and Windows, where quality meets variety. Discover premium wooden, steel panel, fiberglass, and steel security doors alongside aluminum, UPVC, and steel windows designed for strength and durability. At ABC, we're always a better choice, delivering products built to last and service you can rely on. Visit our showroom at 1 Chanka Trace, El Socorro South, or call 638-7184 to make your dream home a reality.
Edie Stewart joins me on the Zoom line. He represents the concern and the, I would imagine, collective voice there of the nurses. And obviously, we would have had many a conversation, Edie. You established in the last conversation that Friday coming was going to be a lunch hour protest action at the San Fernando General Hospital. Since that conversation, we are in now to a new dimension with this most recent state of emergency. And based on that development yesterday, is it that you're going to pipe down with this particular protest action? Edie, what's the plan for Friday? And as always, great to see you and welcome.
Thank you so much for having the Trinidad and Tobago National Nursing Association. And I dare say, the association this morning is not only and solely focusing on nursing and midwifery personnel. We are speaking on behalf of all regional health authority workers, all 5 RHAs, who have been calling on the Minister of Health, the Minister of Finance, to indicate to them, simply indicate to them, when would they receive a salary increase? When would they have the opportunity to move from 2013 salaries to 2026 salaries? When that day would come. And that is why we are gathering in our numbers. Nothing that has transpired over the last 24 to 48 hours have diminished or will be diminishing our voices as we proceed to San Fernando General Hospital midday, high noon on Friday, and continuing. The next stop will be in Sandy Grande, and following that on April the 10th would be in Port of Spain General Hospital. So at this time, having sent the regulations and having our lawyers reviewing the regulations, there's nothing within the state of emergency legal notice 39, nor the regulations, legal notice 40, that prohibits peaceful action, peaceful walks, because that is all we're going to be shooting with. We're going to have a meeting and have a peaceful engagement to advise our members, yeah?
Well, I mean, Edie, of course, I appreciate the stance, the strength, the solidarity, but again, I'm looking at Section 11. I know your lawyers would have also reviewed that particular part of the regulation, and it says no person shall endeavor, whether orally or otherwise, to influence public opinion in a manner likely to be prejudicial to public safety. So they could obviously try to use that public safety argument. It's lunchtime, it's in the hospital. You know, obviously we know officers, I'm sure, well, firstly they have to grant permission for this, so you'll let me know if permission has been granted. But if it's been granted, I'm sure officers will be there. I don't know if they're going to be in riot gear or regular TTPS uniform. Are you already working out in your mind that particular interaction, if there's going to be any kind of intimidation on Friday, Edie?
Well, first begin, I have the expectation that the government will be true to their word. That's my first opening salvo, that the government will be true to their word, that this SOE was not called to mute citizens, not reduce the democratic right of citizens to engage in peaceful demonstration, action, walks. That was not the purpose of this SOE. The purpose of this SOE, as enunciated by the AG and the Prime Minister and Homeland Security, was to treat with criminal elements. By no stretch of the imagination, anyone can indicate or just postulate that the Nursing Association, representing healthcare workers, that they ought not to be working on 2013 salaries in 2026, could be equivalent to engaging in criminal activity. So that's the first thing. Second issue that we have already written to the Commissioner of Police and the Attorney General, highlighting what we expect to do. During the time we expect to do it and the place we expect to do it. And up to this moment, not a single piece of correspondence, communication has come to the association telling us what we will be engaging in will be not allowed. And thirdly, those police officers who we are expecting to be present at our action, we work with these persons. They come into our institutions. They know the challenges that nursing and midwifery personnel face, healthcare workers face. And they who are currently working on much higher salaries than us, I know they will sympathize with the cause because they too would have engaged in action over the years. So I know they would not want to do anything. And over the years, as the association has been engaging in demonstrations over the years, over successive governments. Actually, under the last government, we held 10 over 10 such actions. All remained peaceful, all police was present, and police actually allowed us, and some of us even encouraged us to continue in what we are doing. So we are not doing anything that we have not done in the past, and we do not expect the government to use the resources of the state to mute the mic of the Nurses Association.
President Edie, where is in terms of location, I know you said San Fernando Hospital, is it that the protest action will be within the walls of the compound, or are you going to take it to the pavement towards the High Street area?
Well, it will be in the walls of the compound. If persons are familiar with the entrance to San Fernando, right where the picture on your screen is, it's right there we would be gathering. It's right to the front where the cars will enter from the eastern side of the hospital on top of the hill. Is right there we would be, and as that picture indicated, that picture that members of the public would have viewed would have been from 2020, under the PNM government, when we engaged in similar action under sort of similar circumstances during the SOE. So we don't envision it any different. We look forward to scores of persons coming out to San Fernando General Hospital on Friday midday as workers utilize their lunch hour to indicate their dissatisfaction with what is going on. And the silence, one would have thought by now the Minister of Health and the Minister of Finance would have come out and said something. Imagine any comment from one of these two gentlemen could bring all of this to an end. Imagine that, just a comment to healthcare workers, letting them know, here what, give us 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and you will be paid your salary increase. And it's sad that none of these two gentlemen finds the time, finds the opportunity, finds it necessary to sensitize healthcare workers when they would move from 2013 salary. It's really unfortunate. Maybe they don't know, and hopefully this action would highlight our issues to them.
Edie, as we wrap things up, President Stewart, I know Friday is the first of a couple activations. When will be the next? Once all goes well on Friday, or at least if there is some kind of correspondence between now and Friday, are you willing to put Friday on a back burner? So that's one separate issue, but granted you go through with Friday and Friday is successful, when will be the next one?
So following Friday, and by all feedback that we are getting, Friday is going to be quite large. So we look forward to Friday the 6th, we'll be there. The following, the next one would be the 27th of March at Sandy Grande Hospital. And then if, again, no response from the goodly ministers, we'll follow up with a massive demonstration through the streets of Port of Spain under police supervision to continue our peaceful action on April the 10th. So all three actions are just the first phase in what we have planned to agitate peacefully within the confines of the SOE, within the confines of the Industrial Relations Act. We will continue our actions until the goodly Minister of Finance and Minister of Health, or even the Prime Minister, indicates a confirmed date when healthcare workers would receive their just due.
President Edie Stewart, keep us posted. All the best, and you be safe, and we'll definitely follow all the developments via the news cycle. Great to see you as always.
Thanks so much for having us. Take care.
Representing the nurses and their concerns, President Edie Stewart, and from what he says, all is in place for their peaceful protest action on Friday at the San Fernando General Hospital during the lunch break. Let's get ready for another important conversation. Health Mind Foundation, the Women's Conference that's happening at the Achievers Banquet Hall on Sunday, 8th March. That is this Sunday. Full details after the break.
one-stop, most convenient, most helpful, most caring community pharmacy. Our pharmaceutical services include dispensing medicines, repeat dispensing, clinical governance. But we also have a fully stocked convenience store featuring our refreshment aisle, grocery lane, personal care products, toys, pet supplies. We are most conveniently located out of the traffic, just 2 minutes off the highway in Heartland Plaza, Endeavour, Chaguanas. Contact us on 220-8705 or 470-5938 and visit us soon.
This March the 11th and the 12th, the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce presents Catalyst SME Conference 2026, where potential becomes performance for SMEs. Over 2 days, gain practical tools to access finance, conduct market research, and position your business for real growth. And on Saturday the 14th, meet real buyers through curated B2B meetings and dynamic pop-up shops, designed to turn strategy into opportunity. 3 days, real strategy, real connections, real opportunity. Register now.
My man, Andre.
Good night, Anthony.
7 years with the company, and we couldn't do it without Antoine.
Happy birthday, dear Alejandro. Happy birthday to you.
Who's Angelo?
We're like coworkers who don't forget your name.
I'm Angelo.
CG United. Good like that.
Things don't always go as expected. Be ready with Trinry for auto, home, business and group life. Call us at 800 Trin or visit trinry.com today. Huge insurance premium. Pay your premiums bit by bit with FlexiPay from Trinry. For more manageable auto, home and commercial insurance payments, call us at 800 Trin or visit trinry.com today. Trinry. Premier insurance coverage for less.
Let's do this. You can get the help you need to succeed with Rand Credit Union. You can believe that you can achieve. Big goals, small ones too. Rand Credit Union, we've got you. No more waiting, that won't do. Make someday today. One life, so make it good. Live the way you know you should. With Rand Credit Union, yes you could. Make someday today.
Live your best life today with Rand Credit Union.
Some of us like to test limits, but there won't always be second chances. Obey the speed limits. Maybe you don't value your life, but others value theirs. A message from the TTPS.
Parents will do it, they'll go to work, have a day, bro, and come on and take that stress out on you.
Welcome to another episode of Manhood.
Everybody will do what they need to do to get what they want.
And if they can't fit in to the norms, then what they have to do, they're surviving.
Not everybody wants to kill me because I might be all kind of thing, but I think I'm a good person.
The aspect of a mentor seeing something in you that you can't see in yourself.
Check yourself, because you shaped that generation.
Are we losing in many ways the values?
Since I have this Parkinson's diagnosis, there's a group, a very small group, type group, who will always look after me.
Southland or beyond, I tell you that all roads lead to the Achievers Banquet Hall from 9 a.m. on Sunday. It's a massive coming together. It's the Women's Health Conference and Exhibition. And to give us all the intimate details, we welcome the co-founders of the Healthy Mind Foundation. With me, Mala Munilal Maharaj. Yes, Mala, great to see you.
Yes, great to see you, Jason.
That's right, and Dr. Mitra Maharaj. Doc, welcome.
Hi, morning, Jason, and morning to the viewers.
Definitely. Let me probably start with you, Mala, as it pertains to this, the foundation. Before we even get into the event, let me know a little bit more about the foundation, Healthy Mind Foundation, and why and when it was formed.
Yes. So good morning, Jason, and good morning to all the viewers looking on. The Healthy Mind Foundation is a registered non-profit organization that was founded by myself and Mitra to promote health education in Trinidad and Tobago. Right now, Jason, you see, through our experiences, our professional experiences as a pharmacist and a doctor, we would have been able to observe firsthand the concerning culture surrounding health in Trinidad and Tobago, right? A lot of people do not prioritize their health. And I mean, due to various reasons, of course, but one of the main reasons is essentially misinformation. So the purpose of our foundation is to combat misinformation concerning health, right? So our main goal is essentially to promote accessible, accurate, credible, and what we like to call evidence-based information to the public.
Would you say, Mala, that's the ethos of Sunday's exhibition and expo, the exhibition and the conference?
Correct, yes. It's focused around health education, and in particular, women's health education.
Excellent. Doc, what topics you figure will be major on the agenda when women come to the Achievers Hall on Sunday?
Yeah, so women's health is a huge topic, it's a huge field, and as this is the first time we are doing this event, we had to narrow it down to 3 main topics to speak about. The first of which our panel will speak on from period to menopause. Yeah, so they will cover menstrual health, period poverty, which is an issue in Trinidad, and perimenopause and menopause. They'll speak on the physical and the mental health aspects of those. The second panel will touch on the hormonal illnesses that some women face, namely PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, and acne. They will talk on the lifestyle management of those, the exercise, the diet. And then our last panel will speak on the 2 female-specific cancers that we could screen for in Trinidad, breast cancer and cervical cancer. Mm-hmm. They will touch on the signs, symptoms, when to screen, how to screen, that kind of thing.
Doc, in terms of the medical professionals who will join you on Sunday, who are some of the top names, who are some of the players who will be their stakeholders, as it were?
Yeah, so firstly we have the Honorable Dr. Lakram Bodo, the Minister of Health, who will be giving our feature address. He himself is an obstetrician and gynecologist. On the panels, we have 2 other OBGYNs, namely Dr. Shireen Kalu and Dr. Roshni Bisundat. We have a gynecological oncologist who will sit on our cancer panel, Dr. Vanessa Hari. And then we have mental health professionals, dietitians, fitness coach, and we have a health and safety manager who will speak on women's health and the workplace.
Fantastic. Well done. And it sounds a very well versed and well-experienced panel. And this is, of course, right there in South Achievers Hall. You can't miss it. For those looking on, you have piqued their interest, Marla. Is there pre-registration? What's the process to make sure you're in the audience on Sunday?
So actually, our registration is closed. We have 450 women who have already registered.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's already subscribed?
Yes, correct.
Tremendous. What you hope, as we look to wrap things up, will be the biggest takeaway for those in attendance? Because, I mean, it's one thing to put this together, and I know you're going through all the logistics to make sure people get an experience, but what you hope personally will be the greatest takeaway when women jump into their car, when they jump into their transport to go home, and they feel, obviously, I hope, empowered after this Expo and conference?
Yes. So, Jason, we both know that women are the backbone of society. There's no secret about that, right? And one of the main things for us is to honor women in such a meaningful way, right, in light of International Women's Day, because the event is happening on International Women's Day, right? And for us, this is more than a conference. We actually want this to be a day where women can just come, leave their responsibilities at home, gain some valuable insights regarding their health. They could balance if they want, right? You know, just spend the day focusing on prioritizing their health.
Well
and
done.
To me, there's nothing more empowering than that.
No, it's a tremendous coming together there on Sunday. As we wrap things up, any stakeholders you'll want to mention helping you all to make this come to life?
Yeah, so our title sponsor, we want to say thanks to Achievers Banquet Hall, our diamond sponsor, and our gold sponsors, Southern Supplies Limited, the Answer Motors, and our diamond sponsor, Waves Medical Center.
Fantastic. Well, let me tell you all, well done. You picked a fantastic day to have a conversation on women's health and well-being. It's International Women's Day on Sunday. It's Achievers Hall. It's well subscribed, and it's under the umbrella of the Healthy Mind Foundation. Where can we find Healthy Mind Foundation online, guys?
So we have a website. We have Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok as well.
And you're just typing and you're going to look for Healthy Mind.
Yeah, just search Healthy Mind Foundation.
Fantastic. Correct. And keep the conversation and the engagement going.
Yes.
Marla, I want to thank you. Dr. Maharaj, well done. And this is a tremendous coming together. Medical professionals, and most importantly, you in the audience, the ladies from the Southland, Central, and far beyond. Make your way down. Well, I mean, obviously, it's already subscribed, so that means, you know what that means, right? You'll have to do a bigger and better for 2027, right? With that, we're going to make our exit. Have a great one, TNT. God spare. I'm back for more right here on the chair for the Morning Brew. Be safe.